You're listening to the Grieving Mamas Club podcast, a space for moms who are on the wild ride of motherhood while navigating their grief journey.
We're Kira and Rashida. Between the two of us, we're motherless moms of 4 toddlers and an angel baby. Together, we're going to feel our feels, but also remind you that there's joy on the journey too. Let's dig in.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of season 2 of the Grieving Mamas Club podcast. Rashida and I are super excited. We have our friend Kristen, the resilient widow, on with us today. She is going to give us her story, her brief highlight reel, I guess,
It works.
And all the dirty details along with it, but we're so excited to have her on. She is a mom of
4, 2-step, 2 bio.
That's what I'm like. Yes.
4 is many. Gosh, yeah. Still, doesn't matter. Step, bio. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, it is a lot to keep track of. She's a mama of 4. She has lost a spouse and dealt with her own grief journey with that, and then also with a big bit of her own journey with cancer and going through that, and also with finding love again. So I won't say too much more other than that, but I will go ahead and let Kristen dig right in.
Oh, goodness.
Welcome to the show. We're so excited.
Guys, I'm so excited to be here. We're so excited to have you, Kristen. Thank you so much for coming on our little bitty baby podcast to share your journey in the hopes that, it connects with some other mama out there going through any piece of your journey, right? Multifaceted, as Kara went over. And so, talk to us. Where do you want to start? Let's start with the loss of your spouse.
The beginning.
Yeah, start at the beginning.
Oh, goodness. So my husband passed away October 5th, 2010. So this October will be 13 years, which blows my mind that it's been so long.
Yeah.
I feel like it was yesterday, and then I feel like it was a lifetime ago, which I think anyone who experiences grief probably relates to those same Yes. It's like sometimes it's so vivid, and then other times it's really hard to kind of find bits and pieces of memories that I would like to pull from that. But so he passed October 5th, 2010. He was killed in action while serving in Afghanistan. He was 23 years old. I was 25 years old. I'm a cougar.
I was going to say that.
We had only been married 4 months to the day. We got married on June 5th, 2010, and he passed October 5th. So
Are you kidding? Like to the day?
to the day. The fifth follows me in my story. It's kind of crazy.
We love signs. We love signs. Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre. So he was killed. We were only together for about 6 weeks until he had to deploy. We had planned our wedding so that we would be together for a year, and then someone broke their leg. That sucked. So he had to fill in the gap for this injured person. So he had to leave 6 weeks after our wedding.
Are you kidding me?
Of course, it's such a bummer.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I'm not like, that makes me so
There wasn't time. We honeymooned for a week and a half, and then by the time we got back, we had essentially no time as husband and wife. We were kind of unpacking, both jumping back into work. I was kind of an family event planner for the city that I work for. So it just was so fast. And then the week leading up to deployment, they are gone at doctor's appointments, just every meeting you can imagine, every training. So we essentially just had no time together as husband and wife, which was, just awful and not what we had planned. Obviously, we planned forever, and then we had planned at least a year before he deployed. So luckily, in between training and actually Afghanistan, I got to go to Charleston, South Carolina for 10 days and be with him. So that was kind of our time together as husband and wife. It was super bittersweet, but it was, it was uninterrupted. We didn't have any obligations to family. It was just the two of us, and it was really sweet. And then he put me on a plane this time around, and then he went to Afghanistan, and I went home to California, and then
My God.
So cue the waterworks.
Right. So
How long had you guys been together before you got married?
a year and a half.
Okay.
So not super long.
Yeah. How did you meet?
We met at a Bible study.
Oh.
I was asked to come meet him. Like, hey, my friend was like, hey, I've got this guy that comes to Bible study with me. I want you to meet him. And he was like, I'm not going to tell him you're coming, but like, you come check him out. So I came, and the first thing I saw was,
I love that. I
love tacos, is what his t-shirt said. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. It was just throwing me off. It was like a Del Taco t-shirt, but I was like, okay, he didn't know I was coming. Let's give him a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
And then we met up the following week at a country concert locally in town, and we kind of just dated. We went to the next Bible study that next week as boyfriend and girlfriend. So it was super fast. Oh yeah, we wasted no time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet. I love that.
So it was quick. And then we actually went through an Iraq deployment together before we were married. So as we were dating, he went to Iraq for 6 months, 7 months with the training. And that was tough, obviously.
I can't imagine like dating someone, being married, being with someone who gets deployed. Like, ever, how do you? I don't know. Each day,
That's like another grief journey. Like I would like, I would like to explore in like a future episode, because that is, it's hard. Like I have a hard time like when my husband is traveling for 3 days. Like
right? Well, it's like
6, 7 months, or this. I mean, people go 18 months, and it's like, thankfully, I never had to do the 18. I mean, I'm doing forever, but
you're doing forever.
I never had to do. That's a lot.
That's true.
Yeah. I never had to do the 18 months because that. I mean, it is a grief. It's a when you marry into the military, you lose so much of your control of your life, where you're going to live, how long your spouse is going to be gone. I gave birth to my first child with my current partner being deployed. So, I mean, it's just, you do so much on your own, and it's kind of mind-boggling, but we're gosh. So.
I think like back to when like you're first dating, you first meet, your significant other, your partner, like you're so in love and you just want to be around that person all the time, and then they have to be gone. Like how? It's just gonna like rip you to shreds.
It did, and it was really hard, especially newly dating. So we were only together for maybe 6 months. We'd already said I love you and we knew we were doing the thing. But a lot of emails, a lot of conversations, we prayed together every time we talked. Like we just really had to kind of dive in, and do this thing via the internet the best we could until he got back. So
how do you, before each of his deployments, did you guys prep for the worst at all? Like how, or were you just like, I'll see you in a little bit, like not thinking about the worst, or like what was your mindset every time he left?
So the first Iraq deployment, I don't think I prepped for the worst when we were dating. It was like, be safe, love you. Now I'm going to go work out and get super cute while you're gone. Like that's just, maybe I was naive at that point, which he's working in disguise sometimes. That's okay. The Afghanistan one after we were married was more real because we had to go fill out paperwork as his spouse. If he were to pass away, how do I want to be notified? How do I want his insurance money? So
how do you want to be notified? You have options?
Yeah.
I mean, they gotta tell you.
Yeah. Sorry, but like, what are your options?
I don't think it's like text or call.
Robocall. I don't know. I think, and maybe it wasn't how, but like, where are you going to live? Where do you work? Like, they needed all the info. We had to choose. Do I want his life insurance in one lump sum? Do I want it divvied up over like? So that kind of forced me to think the worst. Like, whoa, this is kind of real. Like,
yeah.
So that's kind of just like a whole mind fuck. Excuse me. I guess I'm allowed to say that.
You are.
in and of itself. So it got really real after we filled out that paperwork. It was like, oh crap. Not me though, is what I always said. Like, what are the chances?
Yeah.
What are the
yes.
So yeah. And the chances ended up being real good for me. Real good. So obviously it was just So he had, when he was deployed to Afghanistan, about 2.5 weeks before he passed away, someone else passed away. And he emailed me and was like, I just had to put his body on a plane back to the United States. Like, it's something I never want to do again. I can't do it. Like, we had met this airman's family in South Carolina. So I had met his mom and his sisters. And he was just so torn up about losing Mikey, was his name. And that man was killed like 2.5 weeks later. So it was kind of crazy.
And he was, what branch of the armed forces was he in?
He was in the United States Air Force.
Okay, that's what
He was an EOD technician, which stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. And you basically render safe all the roadside bombs, IEDs, suicide bombers, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so you knew that was his day job, his day job, but you knew.
Right. I knew.
Like
I knew, but I didn't know because of
I know I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
This is your first response. Okay, yeah.
But then you don't realize, I guess the realness of it. There was a big movie that came out while we were dating called The Hurt Locker. It won like Academy Awards, and that's about their job and about what they do. So we watched it together. Terrible idea.
Oh God.
But it took us 7 hours because he would pause and be like, "That's not realistic. That's not how we do it." I'm like, "Babe, just let's watch it." We'll talk after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of the most inherently dangerous jobs in the military. So, and obviously it took his life. It took many people's lives. And it was awful. I mean, so he passed October 5th. I was at work. They came to my home. We share a condo. We lived in a condo together. My aunt moved in after he deployed to kind of help us pay the rent and to keep me from being lonely. She's my single aunt. I'm like, come stay with me for a little bit.
How long was he supposed to be deployed for?
7 months.
Okay.
And I mean, let's see, July, August, not even 8 weeks in to his deployment.
Okay.
They came and knocked on the condo door. I was not there. My Aunt Lane answered. She said she knew. She's like, the first thing I said was, did Dan die? And they were like, we need to find Kristen Johnson. Like, how can we get hold of her? And she was like, I was so nervous. I offered them coffee and cookies. I'm like, Lane, it's okay. You did so good. Like, I got nothing else at that door. I have so much guilt over her having to receive that dreaded knock. I wish it was me.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Especially, and is it like, Kristen, is it like the movies? Like when
100%.
No. Like the like formal attire.
There's like a high ranking colonel, there was a chaplain, and there was a medical person. In case
I guess in case you just like pass out or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So they, I guess, were in like an unmarked white car, just like sitting in the parking lot of my condo until they got out, knocked on the door. I was at work. So my Aunt Lane called my parents, who again did they had to do just the worst job ever. They came to my work. I was in an event planning meeting, and my office mate popped her head in and was just white as a ghost and was like, your parents are here and they need to talk to you. And I instantly knew. I knew. I don't.
Why else would your parents be there? Like, because it's like, why else?
And she was like, I mean, she's like a Mexican chick, and she went white.
Yeah.
I knew. So I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, excuse me. And I scooted my chair back politely, went in my office, and my dad was just like, pack up your things. We need to go home. And I just said, why? Like, kind of like, why? Tell me why.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, let's
disbelief.
All he said through tears were, Dan died. That's all he could say. I'm sure in his brain he wanted to say it differently. I don't know. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
And I kind of fell back in my lovely cubicle that I was in. And I remember I just kept saying, no, no, no. No tears came at all in that moment. I was like, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like led me out of my office into their car. My mom sat with me in the back and just kind of rubbed my back. And I just kept saying, no, 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 no. And it was like the longest 11-minute drive to my condo.
Yeah, for sure.
And sure enough, I walked in the condo and there was the three people. The colonel who came to tell me was actually a personal friend that I had spent many retirement parties with, going away parties. We were close. And I said, Tim, don't tell me. And he just said, on behalf of the United States Air Force, we regret to inform you. And after that, I don't even remember how it finished. I don't remember what I did.
And I just got like chills. Like I'm so
I don't remember after. No, that's okay. I don't remember after that. I remember sitting on the couch and crying. Then I cried. Then it's like, okay, Tim validated it.
Worst nightmare. Yeah.
Worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Just gotten married. Like, like of course he would be like, no.
Yeah.
Like I literally just got
gonna happen.
married. I literally
There's so much of our life.
We have so much to do. We have so like I remember when my mom passed away 3 weeks before my 16th birthday, and we've been driving together. Like I have like memories of listening to Ashley Simpson while driving.
We all loved Ashley Simpson.
I know, but like God bless my mom being a strong Black woman and just being like, sure, I guess my Black daughter is gonna listen to Ashley Simpson while learning to drive. Like we're gonna let her do that. Be you. And I just like one of my initial thoughts was my birthday's coming. Like, how can she die before my birthday? Like I was supposed to get my license. Like, so I can only imagine your thoughts were like, no, we just got married.
Right. Yeah. This is like how this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
None of that.
I think that's what a lot of the no was. Like, no, you have the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when we were in Charleston, we, naively kind of pull the goalie and we're like, let's make a baby while we're here. And turns out we did not. I don't know if that's good or bad either. I always think like, what if that had worked? Right. It's a game I play in my head. It's really fun.
I know. Why do we do that? I don't know. Because I also think like, what if you did, and then what if like your grief was so terrible that what if you would have miscarried?
Yeah.
Like
I think
yeah. Not to add that to your plate. I mean, I know you've already thought about it, but like,
right. No,
but that's where I go.
And that's again why so much of the no is I was like, we had so much to do. Like I literally had boxes in the corner of this condo still of wedding presents when they came over. We weren't even unpacked. And then after that, like just the most surreal 10 days of my life took place. It's one thing when you're planning a funeral, which I know you both have been a part of. It's another thing to plan a military funeral.
Yeah.
Dan was the first person to die while in action at this Air Force base where we lived. So it was a really big deal. There was news and media like waiting outside of my condo gate, like trying to come in. Like all of my neighbors were lovely, and they would like come in through the gate and let the gate close. They wouldn't let another car in behind them because media was trying to talk to me and
my gosh,
like insane. Just
that's a whole other level.
And it's just like about what? Like, what were you? It's not like you were there, so like it's not like you can give an eyewitness report. Like the only eyewitness report you can give is to your grief, like to your pain.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and leave me alone. I don't want to tell a camera.
So we ended up doing like a press conference. My father was amazing during this time and was like, okay, we're going to do it one time and one time. We're going to talk. We're going to give you the newspaper article or whatever you want. And then we're moving on. And then you'll.
And then.
So we did it. Yes. So we did the press conference, which was necessary and nice to kind of just put behind us. Dan's family had come from Wisconsin, Chicago, and Minnesota to be with us. So that was kind of all like getting them here and organizing flights because the military, when a military member dies, you get what's called a death gratuity, and they put $100,000 in your bank account, and you use that to like fly everybody, take time off of work, pay for things. So I had one of my best girlfriends from high school, like in my office with the door closed, buying like 37 plane tickets for like all of his family. The worst part, though, not the worst part, obviously, a bad part, was his family, his parents are separated. One's in Wisconsin. Well, they were both in Wisconsin. And they said, how do you want his parents to find out? And I said, I want you to send out, they said, we can either send out Air Force personnel, or you can tell them. And I said, I don't think I could do it justice. I don't think I'm going to do it the way they deserve. And I loved his parents. Still do.
Oh,
So they said, okay, we're going to send out Air Force personnel. We'll let you know as soon as we know. So I'm sitting here. It's been like 6 hours since I found out he died, and I haven't talked to anyone in his family. I just want to talk to a family member. So I get a message that was like, Dad's been notified. I'm like, thank God. So I go outside and I call Dad. Dad was like, hey, sweetie, how are you? Dad had not been notified.
No.
Someone fucked up somewhere, and
no.
I had to tell him that his son was killed. And it was
No.
barely
Hell.
I don't know. I never found out. Who did I talk to? I don't
It's
know.
like the wrong package. Like when Amazon sends their package, you like open the front door and you're like, the fuck it is.
Yeah, can I get a picture of who it was delivered to?
Yeah, that's it. It was not left by
Yep. Which front door did you leave it by? Because it wasn't mine.
Oh,
No, I didn't know that their son died in Afghanistan.
I know.
I know. Somebody. Oh, God.
Shit.
I had to tell his dad that he died, which was horrific.
Oh.
Not anything I think I did well. We kind of joke about it now. And he's like, you did fine. I'm like, did I? I don't even remember what I said.
But like, how do you how do you do it well?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think he inherently knew. I said, Jim, I have some really bad news. And he said, is it Daniel? And I said, yes. And he said, is he gone? And I said, yeah. And then he said, I'll call you back.
Oh, geez.
So I think like I said, he's someone new, he had a feeling. Even Dan had a feeling. Between Iraq and Afghanistan, we just knew Afghanistan was different. He knew it was just heavier. It was more dangerous. It was just different. Again, naively, not different to make me imagine the worst, I guess. And then, the rest of his family found out. They came. We did the press conference. We planned the funeral, I was just a bitch. I was like, they were just holding up caskets. And I'm like, the one on the right, like, move on. Like, I was just over it.
Yeah.
It
You
was
don't want
just,
to be there. You don't want to be doing that. This should not be your life. This isn't your path.
yeah. It was not great, obviously. All of his coworkers came the day it happened. And they all came in like in a line. There was like 11 guys just like hugging me. Some I had met, some I hadn't met before. Just kind of giving their condolences. And this is kind of where I guess my stories almost collide a little bit. There was one guy that I hadn't met before that hugged me. And it was so weird. And I've always believed in kind of like my intuition. And I just thought that hug felt different, but in like a safe way. I was like, oh, I felt like he was, I don't know, it was weird. It's very hard to put into words, but I was like, that hug felt safe and protective.
Yeah.
He's now my fiance of many years. And
Oh my God.
we are getting married in June, which I'm very excited about.
In Hawaii, right?
Yeah, Hawaii next month. But something in me, it wasn't romantic immediately. It was very like protective. So we went through the 10 days planning, and he was there every day, just like the rest of them, just kind of like observing. He would walk by and like put a water bottle in front of me and walk away. He would walk by and like slide a plate of mac and cheese in front of me and walk away. It was just very protective, I guess.
Who was he in relation to your then husband? Like, were they in the same unit together, or were they?
They worked together. They were friends as much as you can be friends through work. Chris is his name. He had just gotten to Vandenberg when we got married, so there wasn't much of a crossover. But there was actually a missing fisherman off the coast of their Air Force base. So Chris and Dan got to walk the beach for days on end, just like talking, looking for this. So it was kind of cool because they got to know each other a little bit.
Wow.
And then the day we had his funeral service, they allowed me to go have alone time with his casket, I guess, if you will. Yeah. And I remember I walked up to the church and Chris was standing there in his full blues. Of course, it was him, and just stepped aside, opened the door for me, and then guarded it while I had these kind of last moments, which I don't remember. I wish I remembered it better. I don't remember what I said. I remember like laying on the casket. And then I came out and he opened the door for me, and he was just kind of there as I just went through the shittiest, 14 days of funeral planning. It was a 2-day event, one on base, one not. And it was just,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
way more than
honesty.
it would have been, I think, had it been a non-military person.
It's a bit like a civilian. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we drove to the Air Force Base, there was just cars pulled over with like signs and American flags and people hanging over like the overpasses, and all the families came out on the Air Force Base. And it was like you see in a movie. It was, no one was speaking in the car ride. It was just, it was so surreal, but in like a really cool way. Cooler now that I can look at it from afar.
Yeah.
And all that is obviously super just weird.
Wow.
It was just surreal, probably.
Yeah. And then
Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, whenever I see that, like when passing by and like the fire trucks will be out with like the big flag on overpass, or people are like seeing like the whole, it's so moving and it's so touching, and it just fills you, or fills me with like so much, like such a strong sense of patriotism. And I'm just, but it's still sad, obviously, but I'm so proud of my country that that we are,
and that's how
to
it
celebrate
felt.
that person. But I'm curious. Yeah, did it really feel like that for you in that moment? Yeah, good.
In the moment, I don't remember, honestly. I wish I remembered, and I don't. It's obviously grief protecting everything, but we all met on the tarmac where they got his casket off, which was draped in the American flag.
Oh God, this is like literally just like
every movie you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Chris, my fiance now, was a pallbearer, so he carried my husband's casket off the plane. He carried it into the church for me. I got handed the folded flag and all that stuff. I have pictures from all of that, which I'm so grateful for, because those are moments I don't fully remember.
Yeah.
And they had a base photographer, just part of the military funeral, come and just document the entire thing, which was such a blessing.
Yeah.
And then it was just over. And then you're like, okay, now what?
So all that pomp and circumstance. Yeah. And then then everything is just gone. And I mean, that is very relatable too. I would say probably for a lot of people, with planning the funeral and having the funeral, and family and friends, and family coming in and friends coming in and visits. And then all of a sudden it's at some point, that need to go back to their lives.
Yeah.
But and that's forever altered. So like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when it obviously hit me.
Yeah.
For real. It was like, okay, his family left, which was heart-wrenching. He's got 3 brothers, and one of them looks identical to him. Even now when I see him, I'm like, am I attracted to you?
Yeah.
Or like, how do I feel about you? It's so crazy.
That would be weird. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Their eyes and everything. It's crazy.
Which is also a little bit heartbreaking though too. Like if somebody was walking around this world like
looking
like my husband, but like it wasn't my husband, that would be weird for me too. Random tangent. I saw a woman. I was at doing a work event, and we were like doing focus groups, and one of the women looked like my mom a little bit. Yeah, it threw me the F off. Like I kept like. I was like looking at her, but not looking at her, but then like, I couldn't figure out how to ask questions. And like, it was a weird, like, I couldn't imagine.
Oh, yeah. It's so tricky.
It brings back frequently.
Yeah. It brings back so many. Yeah. Like it's just weird. It stirs something up in you that you're like, I don't know if I like it right now. I don't know how I'm feeling at the moment. Yeah. But their voices are so much. It's just insane. And luckily I'm very close with him and his wife. I go out there to Chicago to visit him now with Chris and our girls. His kids and my kids call each other cousins. Like I'm just very blessed with Dan's family, which I know many widows did not have that same experience, unfortunately. Where in-laws ghost you and disappear. And but yeah, then the funeral ends and you're just like, okay, like what the hell? Like especially all this hype around like who he was, and the notoriety of it, I guess, being like a military death, a KIA, and then it's just over and you're just like, wah wah. Like, I drank a lot after that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
Lots of alcohol.
Did you get to stay with you then for longer after that, or
Years.
Okay.
Years. Yeah.
Oh.
She stayed with me for a really long time. So she's my namesake. She's Lane Kristen Harlow. I was born Kristen Lane Harlow, so we're super close. She's amazing. So she stayed with me until I moved to this house or the house I moved in with my current fiance. So we were together for a long time after that.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I went back to work after 3 months. And in those 3 months, I think I was, first of all, I was a terrible employee. I took like 2-hour lunches. I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be. So I finally quit. Yeah. I went back in January. I quit in April. No, like March 30th. And I just said, I'm not being a good employee to you. I need to take time to find myself. I want to go travel. I want to visit Dan's family. So I quit the day before my birthday. April Fool's Day, actually, is when I quit. And yeah, I was diagnosed with cancer again that June. So I didn't get much traveling in.
Again? What?
Again.
Wait, again?
I had it twice.
Yeah.
I had it twice.
She just slipped that in there. Okay.
But that's right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I'm remembering. Yes.
Yes.
I was diagnosed with cancer while Dan was in Iraq. And he was just my boyfriend at the time. He was in Iraq.
First time that he was deployed. Well, yes.
Did he know, did you call him and you're like,
yes, I had I waited that evening. So I had gotten in a car accident, long story short. The steering wheel went into my abdomen. Yeah, it was stupid.
Wait, is that your car accident? Okay.
The steering wheel went into my abdomen. This is when he was deployed. And I had some weird pain, clearly from the steering wheel. The doctor's like, let's just do a quick little CAT scan to make sure you didn't rupture anything. Mm-hmm. So they do this CAT scan, and they find like this little tiny marble of something. The doctor was like, that looks like maybe a mass of fat, so let's do a laparoscopic surgery. So I'm talking to Dan while he's in Iraq. I'm like, I had to go have this stupid laparoscopic surgery. And so I went home and got my bed all ready, with my Grey's Anatomy reruns. And I came out, I'd be home in 3 hours for my laparoscopic surgery.
Yeah.
I go in and I wake up just open from sternum to crotch, just 43 staples straight down the middle. And they had found this basketball-sized tumor just wrapped around every organ in my abdomen.
And you had no idea?
No idea. This car accident, granted, it did break my friend. It broke my friend. I was driving her collar and her shoulder, collarbone and shoulder. So I apologize for that, but it saved my life essentially. And I had this massive tumor, which ended up being something called liposarcoma, which is cancer of your fat cells. And it's for African-American elderly gentlemen, over the age of 65. And I'm like, hi.
What?
I'm this little white girl who's 23 at the time and getting this
they would have never even, they would have never even thought that you didn't.
No,
oh, God.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So I fight that while he's gone.
Basketball size?
Yeah. And essentially they had gotten the tumor out. So I was doing maintenance chemo. Let's get in there and just make sure we're going to knock everything else out. I didn't lose my hair during this chemo. By the time Dan came back from Iraq, I had one more chemo session left. So he got to go with me to my very last chemo. I got to ring a bell, wee, I'm cancer-free type of thing. So I was diagnosed on June 5th, 2009, which is where the 5 comes in. So we planned our wedding day for June 5th, 2010. I was like, let's replace that crappy day.
Yeah.
2010.
The best day.
Okay, yeah.
So then he died on October 5th, 2010. And then I was diagnosed again with cancer June 5th of 2011.
You are lying. Oh my God.
Oh, the same diagnosis date, 2 years apart from each other. Just crazy.
And
so
what was the story around the second diagnosis then?
It was a regrowth essentially. So the tumor was sitting on my abdominal aorta, which clearly you can't scrape away too much because you nick that thing, I'm done. Your aorta clearly pumps all the blood to your heart. So he did the best he could, but they feared that there might have been a little bit left behind, and that's what that chemo was for. But unfortunately, it grew back with a vengeance. It came back quick and fast. So they threw the kitchen sink at me. I was bald. I was frail. It was not pretty.
This is not even a year after your husband died.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so I went to UCLA to have this surgery from this world-renowned doctor who basically opened me up, took like a quarter of my small intestine to like get around things, and was like, I can't do anything for you. Like, enjoy the time you have, essentially, is what he told me. And he was
he took a quarter of your small.
yes,
It was
yes.
Like for what?
I don't know that. Yeah.
Now it's like
I'm not paying this bill.
I know.
he was an asshole. He was just not fun.
Kristen.
Yeah. So he was like, go enjoy the time you have. Like, if I can't do it, no one can. Is literally what he said.
Gross.
And then he goes, is that a baby blanket that you have with you? And I was like, yeah, it's my blanket that I carried. He's like, my 2-year-old has one of those. And like walked away. And that's the last I've ever seen of this guy. And I'm like,
I want to hunt this man down.
oh, yeah, he's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Not a fan of UCLA because of that. Sorry. I'm sure it's wonderful. But
Don't blame you.
They don't sponsor us.
Yeah.
okay, good. You're good. We're going to. So that was a terrible experience, basically being told, like, best of luck to you. So I went home and got more rings.
But what kind of like oncologists have that kind of, and I guess if you are an oncologist, you have to be somewhat hardened to it. Like you're seeing cancer people all day, but like have some goddamn bedside manners.
I think I had good that was you.
He was so like well known in the business. His dad was like some huge doctor as well, and he was extremely good looking. So he was just like a prick. Like he was cocky, arrogant.
You know, he had a small penis.
I was just gonna say, I was
100%. You know it. It's giving so thick energy.
Yeah.
I wish I could have told him that in the moment.
Yeah, I know.
No.
I'm gonna send him an email.
Yeah.
I'm sure I still have his information. So that was, let's see, that was June. I came home and went through chemo and radiation, and it was awful. Radiating your gut is like, I mean, I vomited, I don't know, 15 times a week for months on end. Like, you're just, I was miserable. Miserable.
Eat? Like,
No.
no. Oh, God.
No, nothing.
How we
Miserable.
There's
It was terrible. So I don't even remember. I feel like then what happened. And then I was recommended to Stanford, and I met this amazing surgeon who was from Greece, and he was just like a Greek god. I love him. He's lovely. And he basically sat me down and he was like, I will try this surgery, but there is a 33% chance I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to nick that aorta, and you're going to bleed out. There's a 33% chance you're going to have a colostomy bag, and you're going to lose your small intestine completely. And there's a 33% chance that I'm going to get this, and you're going to be fine. So he goes, go home with that, and let's talk in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, like 2 weeks. Okay. So I went home, and I talked to my therapist. I talked to my family, I guess, as much as I let them in with all the stuff. And yeah, at one point I decided I wasn't gonna do the surgery. I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy what I got. I've got an amazing little nephew who is like a lifesaver to me, who's gonna be 13 soon, blows my mind. But I just wanted to be with my family. I didn't want to take the risk.
Yeah.
My brother, who is literally one of my best friends, my little brother, he's not little, he's like 6'2" giant guy. He was like, man up and have the surgery. Like, we need you. Like, stop being a little bitch and have the surgery. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Oh my God.
So I had the surgery, and it was a 33% chance that he got it, and everything was good. So we got the good odds, thank God.
Yeah.
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 And he was just like my saving grace. The recovery that followed was worse than any cancer I've ever had, because he had to take another third of my small intestine. So I couldn't eat. I had to end up getting what's called a PICC line, so that you eat through like a vein. It's not eating really. It's like calories in a backpack. It was a mess. I mean, I almost died from that. Way more than I ever reached death with cancer. It was really scary. Yeah, and that was that. I have PTSD horrifically from being so ill from that. At one point, I thought I was going to die. I went to my mom's. I'm like, I don't think I'm waking up in the morning. So can I stay tonight? Mind if I crash?
Literally die here.
Yeah.
It's really crashy.
Yeah, really. Can my body physically die right here on your couch?
Yeah.
And I did wake up, thank goodness. And again, my brother was there being like, we'd be in the hospital and my mom would be like loving on me. and they leave. And my brother would be like, listen the fuck up. You're going to drink this Gatorade. You're going to eat. And you're going to stop being a pussy. Like, he had it. He was like,
both sides. Yeah, you need both sides. You need somebody to coddle you and somebody to push through. Because they say, because I've never had cancer, thank God. But they say like a lot of it is a mind. Like you have to put in your mind like
Resilience.
I'm going to do this. Yeah. That you have what it takes to do this.
and I did it in the beginning. At first, I was like, I'm going to go see Dan. Like, bye. Like, I'm out. Like, I just lost my husband, and now I'm going for the fight of my life. No thanks.
Right. No, I'm good. Yeah.
We're big believers of heaven and Jesus Christ. I was like, I'm going to go reunite with that guy.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all enjoy yourself. And see you later.
Yeah. That was that for me. This is clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just insane. That recovery process was just mind blowing. But I recovered as much as you can. I mean, I have terrible stomach issues. I don't gain any weight, thank goodness. I mean, if one thing positive came from this, like, thank you, Jesus.
That girl. Yeah.
I also poop about 23 times a day. So, you know,
Gosh.
it comes with its pros and cons. Because I have no small intestine. It's like this long. What I eat is just out of me.
Oh my God.
Okay. So, but you've had 2 biological children, right? So how did that work?
Yeah.
So was that
Before I started chemo and radiation, I was told, you're not going to have kids. Like, we're going to zap you so bad. And I had already had chemo from the first round when Dan was in Iraq. So they said, do you want to get your eggs frozen? I said, yes. Dan had already passed. So this is the second bout of cancer. I went through all the shots. Most women get like 25 eggs. I got 4 sad little eggs because my body just was not produced. Like, it was just done. It had already been through too much damage.
It had already been through the initial like cancer, the grief, there's a whole like your body. It
had been through a lot. So I paid $25,000 out of pocket to get these 4 shriveled little cancer eggs, which I was like, okay, and they were like, they don't even look that viable. Like, they felt so bad. So they told me I'm never going to have children.
Okay.
So after Dan died, and it kind of takes us back to the Chris thing, there's this protective person around me all the time now. And when Chris got to the Air Force Base before Dan died, he was going through a divorce. His wife cheated on him and did not follow he was coming from Florida. His wife said, we're not coming with you. I'm seeing someone else. I'm going to keep your 9-month-old and your 2-year-old little boy, and we're not coming.
Oh my God.
So I met him, and he was at his lowest, and I was at my lowest. So we were like, do you want to be friends? And just like go through. I mean, I spent Halloween after Dan died with him, carving pumpkins, watching scary movies, just being like,
just having that companionship. Just someone. Yeah.
Someone who was just as miserable, missing parts of him, missing his children. And that just kind of obviously grew into like and love. We had a super intense relationship right off the bat. And then he was going to the exact same town that my husband was killed in. So he broke up and was like, I don't want to put you through this. I can't do this to you type of thing. I got cancer while he was gone. This bad bout of cancer when he was gone. We reconnected.
Kristen, hold on. You're
So
I know. I'm like,
and then you're like falling. Yeah, you're falling for
this
the
guy,
other guy,
his coworker who does the exact same job.
Who then, oh my God, then breaks up with you.
He breaks up with me. So then I'm not only dealing with losing this boyfriend, but I'm kind of like going through stuff with Dan. Like, where's my Band-Aid? He was like a Band-Aid. And now the Band-Aid's gone. And I'm like,
yes.
Then I get cancer.
So you're like re-grieving, and then you have cancer.
Yeah. It was really shitty. You're reminding me how shitty it was. It was terrible.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's so funny when you go, like, when you've survived it, like, you go, anytime I like retell the like years after my mom passed away and like not having parents and like all of those things, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of shitty, wasn't it?
That's a really crappy thing I went through.
You know what?
I've been through some shit, right? And you kind of forget about it. I'm actually attempting to write a book. I don't know how it's going. But just the other day, I wrote about October 5th and when he died, and I was like, fuck, that's dark. Like, that was me. I did that. But like, I forgot, I guess, how crappy it was and how heavy it was.
It sucks to kind of relive too.
Oh, yeah, I relived it so many times between random, things, I guess, therapy and some other news things I've done like 10 years later and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I got cancer when Chris was deployed. He came back. I was bald as shit and just like this tiny little frail thing. I wore my wig, all cute. I wish I would have rocked the bald head more. That's something I kind of regret.
Really?
I didn't. I wore like a wig. I slept in it. Like I did not want to be seen without it. So that was
there's a lot. I'm weird about my hair as well. Like there's a lot to be said about
It just
you like I just want one thing I can fucking control, and right now it's just a goddamn wig.
Amen. Yeah. I did one time vomit into it in a drinking binge. I took it off and then used it. A $300 human hair wig as a vomit bucket. So that was probably maybe if there's a rock bottom in there, that might have been it. But, who's to say?
Yeah.
That was proud of
I can't have holded it out pretty well. I mean,
kept it perfect. No dripping. Yeah, it was not my proudest moment. Anyway, he came back to me being very sick. And we, of course, picked up right where we left off. We're kind of friends with benefits. And one day I woke up and my boobs were real sore. And I was like, what is this? And I had pregnancy tests left over from when Dan and I were married. And it was positive.
Stop it.
Wait. Yeah.
Oh.
So we were not dating. Not many people knew we had already dated because it was pretty soon after Dan died.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like, none of Dan's family knew that we had dated. So now I have to call Dan's family and say, I'm pregnant with someone you didn't even know I existed, essentially.
Yeah. Dan's coworker.
Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, remember the guy who was carrying his casket, that one in the front left? Yeah, that's
that guy.
That's cute. Yeah.
So yeah. And then he deployed right after we got pregnant.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Roughly he went to Kuwait, which was very safe. He was on like a bingo team and like a volleyball team. It was
yeah.
Oh, he was living, he had more of a social life than I did. I'm sitting here pregnant with a child, just like enjoy Applebee's, like there was at Applebee's.
Yeah.
So I gave birth alone not alone. My brother was my birthing partner and he cut my daughter's umbilical cord and it was lovely. And Chris got to be there on the, it was Skype back then, I guess. Yeah. And then he came back safely, thank goodness. And we had a miscarriage, unfortunately, after that. Yeah, that was really tough. And then I had another little girl. So.
And at this point, so at what point were you guys like, all right, we're actually dating? Was it after the pregnancy test? You're like, all right,
after.
I like you.
But maybe like a month later, we were going to let's get apartments that connect to each other and let's co-parent. Yeah. And then he was like, well, I'm deploying, so let's buy you a house for the baby. And I'll just put my stuff in there while I'm deployed. And then it was just,
we're doing this.
We were just in love and happy. And
yeah, you guys are also trying to protect each other, maybe too, or protect yourself. And it 100% protect you. Yeah.
It was, so we just had April 30th was our 10-year. So our dating anniversary is the day I peed on the stick. That's what we said.
I like that.
Well, I guess we're doing this. So April 30th was our 10-year anniversary. And between the two of us, we have been through so much. Like he carried my husband's casket. We've been through infertility. His wife cheated on him. We've had such a custody battle with his two other children. It's just been so much that I'm like, we've been through more than people who have been married 70 years go through.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And we're very, very happy. And we have two beautiful little girls who are very healthy, 9 and almost 7. Yeah. And a 16-year-old stepson and then a 13-year-old stepdaughter. We're getting married in June, but it's actually just like a commitment ceremony. We're not getting legally married. And yeah, that's just where I'm at. And it's crazy.
Is it on June 5th?
Yeah.
Good, right? No.
The 5th alone.
Yeah. What trips me out is I haven't seen an oncologist or had my scans in so long because we actually moved to Maryland for 2.5 years, me and Chris and our 2 little girls, so that he could finish up his Air Force career. So we just got back to California and I have my cancer scans coming up and it'll be around June 5th when I get the results. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, can we make it the 4th or the 6th? So
Yeah.
I'm freaking out that it's come back, and that's just what you do once you have it once. I'm sure it's when you lose someone. It's the same thing with grief. Like now everyone's gonna die, obviously.
Oh, I the other day I was leaving in the morning to go work out, and I was like, I might die on the way to the gym. So I went back upstairs, gave my husband a kiss, and I don't think he knows that actually.
Why do our brains do this?
I have to
Somehow.
kiss
I mean, I do know.
every single effing morning because I'm like this. Well, you never know in America these days, but
Yeah.
this could be the last time I see that. Like yeah.
Every time my husband drives away for work, I'm like, you're dying today. You don't answer my text message, you're dead on the side of the road.
I go immediately to like that used to be a thing in the early years of Ben and I's relationship and marriage is that like I go immediately to death. Like not cheating, not like I don't know, like I just immediately to death. Like there was one time he locked himself out of our house, and this is before we had kids. And he I hadn't answered text message, hadn't answered anything from me in like hours.
Yeah.
And like usually he called me on his way home from work, and I remember like driving like bat out of hell, like trying to get home. So I was like, he's fucking dead. And it's just like he knew I was gonna be freaking out the most. He was like in the driveway. He was like, okay, I'm okay. And
I'm here.
Yeah. He was like, I know you were freaking out. I locked my phone. I do not have keys. My phone is you were coming.
Well, thank goodness that he at least recognizes your concern and can meet you there. So, and then I forgot in 2019, after we had already had our 2 children, Chris actually deployed again to Afghanistan, the same area where Dan was killed. So we did end up going through a bit of a deployment. Luckily, it was cut short after 3 months, but I was terrified. Anytime a car would drive down the street, I would think that's clearly a notification team, like coming to tell me that he died. So that was a
white unlocked car. You're like, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a knock on my door.
The door.
Oh,
yeah. And I swear it was a God thing. After 3 months, they were like, they don't need us here anymore. Like stuff has slowed down. They're sending us home. And I was like, thank you, Jesus, because my mental health trying to raise 2 little girls while worrying that every time your phone buzzes or a car drives by, like
your husband's dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's still something I deal with, especially with my kids. Maybe it's a mom thing, but I always think my kids are going to die. Like, this is the day there's going to be a school shooting. Like, all right.
Oh,
it's just
God.
horrific.
Oh, I know.
I think that is because at least for me, so like, I used to always say that like, you couldn't break me because the worst thing that could happen already did.
Yeah.
Then I had kids, and I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I was like, oh, there's more. Oh, it's them. Like, that would not survive something happening to them. And so it is motherhood.
Beautiful and daunting and terrifying at the same time.
And because you now know it's possible. So, like, know, like, I'm sure every mom fears that. Every mom is like, I would never survive the loss of my child.
Yeah.
But having gone through a grief journey before that, you now know that it is absolutely possible to lose someone you love that much.
Well, I mean, if not more, like they came from you. They're a part of you. They're like my heart walking around outside.
Yep.
So that's a lot of PTSD that I have that I've worked through years of therapy. And then I ended up going to get my master's in psychology so I could just do it myself and not have to pay. I'll do it for other people. Much easier. I mean, I had to do a lot of work to get past all of that stuff because you worry now that I'm a mom, the cancer reoccurrence is so terrifying because I'm like,
because now I could be ripped away from them. Oh, girl, there's a lot.
Girl. Yeah. And then anytime I'll get a cold, right? Or a fever and I'll lay in bed. I do get a lot of sickness still just because my body has lost its immune system. So anytime my kids get the sniffles, I have like pneumonia. And instead of me tucking them in, Chris will bring them to me. Oh, yeah, I did get COVID.
I thought COVID was miserable for you.
It worked.
And terrifying.
So Chris will bring them into my room as I'm laying here watching, I don't know, Bravo. And they'll like kiss me and be like, good night, mommy. And I'm like, is this what it's going to be like when I have cancer again? Like, mommy's all weak in bed and they're like, to kiss bald mommy. Like, I have flashes of just like, this is what it's going to be like as I'm dying of cancer, because clearly that's going to happen. Yeah, I feel like every show I'm watching right now, there's people who are dying of cancer. And I'm like, okay, PTSD, calm down. It's not going to be you. That's mom, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So what do you do to try to cope with a lot of that? Like, that's a lot. Like, that is a lot of like, and then that's the thing about grief. It can like grow legs and become this like crazy ass monster that you're like, yeah. And a lot of that's anxiety, right? Like it's fueled by that. So like, what are some things you do to like try to recenter yourself? Like,
I take 40 milligrams of Celexa every morning. When
fuck yes. Team over here.
All about it. Then God, you can be on. You know, and I
just to get you through, you know.
Oh my God. And when I don't take it, watch out. Like, go. And then I've just learned like really simple coping skills through therapy, like stopping the thought before it gets, because I'm sure you guys know with grief, the second that thought gets in your head, it'll tear you apart. It'll ruin your day like that. So I have to just stop it in its tracks and be like, literally not today. Yeah, not today. Like, I got kids to raise who need me right now. I can't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Yeah. Easier said than done on all the time. But, you know, and I do a lot of things called scheduled worrying and scheduled grieving. So a lot of the times I'll take all of Dan's stuff out and just like be with it. If I can like feel it coming, like you, Rashida.
I do think like that. I like calling it scheduled grief.
Yeah. It's called scheduled grief. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I'm like, that is wild, Rashida.
Yeah. Just drive straight into it. Just go.
No, that is what I was taught in therapy. She's like, you bring your Dan box down, literally and figuratively, and you just grieve in the moment. It get it out of your system. Otherwise, it just like creeps in little by little. And then you're grumpy, and then you're treating those around you poorly, and then you're really you're emotional. No, get your box out and just sit with it. And I do the same thing kind of with anxiety. Like if I'm feeling it in the moment, I plan like to either feel it and move through it, or to just like talk myself out of it and pull all the little tools out of my toolkit that I've learned, just to be like, what are the chances this is going to happen? What are the chances there's going to be a school shooting? Like, let's talk ourselves through this. You know, luckily I work in their school, thank goodness. So that helps.
Yeah, that helps a balance.
You know, or with Chris going to work, he rides his motorcycle to work. I'm like, really? I've done like, that's just another dangerous thing. So I just think,
put that away.
Yeah, right. It's his dad's who died. I'm like, I can't tell him to put it away.
Yeah. That's his. That's how he's
his thing. So gotta let him have it.
Okay.
But yeah, scheduled grief is like legit, and it's really, especially if you know like anniversaries are creeping up. October 5th is for me. That I'll just be like grumpy like 2 weeks leading up, and I'm like, nope, I gotta get this done. So feel it, grieve it, move on. So I'm like,
I just had my mom's anniversary, and I planned to take the day off and go do a workout and then go to the spa. It was basically a day to myself.
Sure.
So I was like, but it was doing stuff that I love to do that lights me up, you know. And but leading up to it, I was like, my husband was like, "Are you sure we're gonna be alone? Like, this seems weird. Like, why are you like? I don't know anybody else. Like, people normally do this. I don't know. Like, you know, like, yeah." I was like, Rashida does, and he's like, "Well, yeah."
But she does it on your again.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you know, like the first year, it felt very forced. We tried to mass, and then we went to go eat lunch somewhere. Then we were trying to go to like somewhere else. I thought that my mom used to like to go to, and the Botanical Gardens, and it ended up being, it just felt very forced, and it was weird. So I was like, okay, that's not. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's not it. The second year, I was like, I just worked and powered through it, and I was like, this ain't it either. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this year. Well, our daughter gets strep throat, and so keep her home from school. So I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I, took her to the doctor, and we kind of had like a little bit of a day, but I was like, I just got back online. I was like, I'll just work. But it was so strange so she got strep throat. So she had to take doctor gave her amoxicillin. She hates it. Like it can be flavored. I still have to it's like this much amoxicillin with like this much chocolate syrup. Yeah. So and then on top of that, which I don't know how that can taste good, like the flavored with chocolate syrup, whatever. Well, on top of that, I take her to the dollar store, and I'm like, pick out, it was 10 days. So I was like, twice a day for 10 days. I'm like, pick out 20 prizes.
Oh, gosh. Good for you.
Well, $50 later at the dollar store, when they were throwing some extras, you know.
I don't even have the patience for that. Like, I would not, no part of me would have the patience for Dom to pick out 20 things.
Oh, she's so she's like, I want this, I want that.
Oh, so not
My daughter takes 2 hours to pick out one thing.
That's what I'm saying. Not cautious Carl Dom. We would have been in the dollar store for effing ever. He would have been weighing his pros and cons. He would have been like, no.
You know, sizing them up next to each other.
Yes.
No. Like, which one's bigger? That's
like listening to 5-year-old logic for that long. I'm like, oh no.
When you give them the opportunity to pick out 20 different things, she's just like, yeah, I want it. It was you. Yeah. Like when it's one thing, then that's when they're gonna do that.
But 20's a lot. So I can see that.
20's a lot. And so walk out $50 less. And when we were standing in the store, like all of a sudden, like I just got like super lightheaded. Like I could like really like my chest got really tight. Like I felt like I didn't feel well.
Because you were wondering how you were getting ready to spend $50 at $50.
Yeah, I would, yeah.
True.
Probably was like all kind of thing. Yeah. But I was like, okay, I've had caffeine, I've had water, I've had go through my desk. Yeah, I'm like, I've gone through my thing. And I got in the car, I looked at the time, I'm like, wow, it's a lot earlier than I thought. I was like, I haven't pretty much a lot of the day. That's good. And then I was like, oh my gosh. I started feeling weird at the time my mom passed. And so, And so that was really... Your body knows. And that was probably maybe like my first like recognition of like your body recognizes grief before your brain does.
Yeah.
So and then from like that on, that time on the rest of the day, I was just back in that feeling. I haven't felt that feeling in so long that just I just like used to feel down and dumpy and just heavy.
Yeah. And see, I wish Dan's mom claims, and I totally believe her, that so Dan would have died around 3 a.m. for me in California because he was, of course, on the other side of the country or the world. And his mom like was woken up at about 5 because she's in Wisconsin and she like couldn't breathe, same type of thing. And then she was like, "Ooh, that was kind of weird," and like went back to bed. And it turns out it was like right around the time that he passed. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, I blow dried my hair and my husband was dead. I put my shoes on and my husband was dead. Like I go through the list of things that I was just like, went to work, made my coffee, and his heart was no longer beating.
And that might be like we talked about like your kids are a part of you, like a part of you left. It's like 100%. That could be,
It feels like a betrayal of my own body. Like you just went along your day thinking that like you were fine and your husband was no longer here. Chris knew before I did, like all the Air Force guys found out before I did. And it's just like crazy to me that, And so I feel that heaviness right in early October. Our last phone call was October 2nd, thank goodness. And he died on the 5th. So right before the 2nd, that whole heaviness and like, like you're PMSing basically, like you're about to start your period.
Yep.
And then I'll be like,
that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, it's early October. So this is when it starts. This is when it's a week or two of just crap.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say seasons change and everything, but you're in California and you don't really have that.
No, we don't. We have 70 year round pretty much.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Beautiful today. The sun's shining.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Was Chris in Afghanistan with your husband when he passed, or
no? He was here with me essentially, or here, and he ended up coming over to the house the day he died. So he was
okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah.
Okay. He was with 2 other coworkers whose wives were here stationed with me. One of which was very badly injured and nearly died. Had multiple blood transfusions, just riddled with shrapnel from the explosion. And then one has like a really bad traumatic brain injury and unfortunately mentally is not well and it kills me. and has actually asked that I don't speak to him anymore just because it's such a reminder. He's the one who like tried to save Dan's life, and he put tourniquets on his wounds and started life-saving techniques. And he said, the one time I talked to him, he said, every time I close my eyes, Dan's green eyes are just staring back at me, which is what they did. And so he's like, your husband's eyes are the last thing I see every single night.
Yeah.
Part of me is like, must be nice. I want to see those eyes, but
Yeah.
he carries such
A lot.
so much grief
Yes.
that I can't even imagine. So he's not well, unfortunately. I'm not sure. It's been a while since we've spoken, but last time he wasn't doing great. So
I'm so sorry.
yeah.
Oh God, that's just, what a heavy load to carry,
Right? Yeah.
Pain. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm sure he feels guilty, and he shouldn't. Dan, and again, I don't mind sharing, and I hope you don't, but Dan stepped on what they call a pressure plate. So it's essentially an IED hidden underneath things, and he jumped on it because he was jumping off of a rock like a child. They had some time. They had some time to kill. To kill. That was funny. They had some time, so he jumped off this rock and literally landed on a 90, and it exploded.
So I was envisioning him like working on something.
No, I think he probably wishes that's what he was doing. Like, let's tell everyone I was like cutting the wires.
Yeah,
he was like standing around,
fucking around. Yeah, around.
They had to be fair, they had just cleared an IED. I don't know, 100 feet away, and they were in the safe zone. They were like, okay, this is
good. Yeah,
reconvene essentially. And they didn't realize that there was an explosive underground. So there wasn't much that could be done. Like, and I've talked to Mark about this, the gentleman who tried to save Dan. I'm like,
yeah,
his injuries were extensive. So, but I know he feels guilt. Who wouldn't feel guilt knowing that he tried to turn against on his legs, or, he had lost his legs. So he tried to tourniquet what was there. And he was just,
Did you get to see his body when it returned? Like, did you?
No, they asked me. I would have had to fly to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, and I just couldn't imagine getting on a plane that day for like 5 hours just waiting. So I sent what they call an escort. I picked one of our good friends who is also an EOD tech, and he went and received Dan's body for me. Brought him back. I was a weird widow, and I had made a lot of demands. And I said, I do not want my husband spending one night in a funeral home. Like, we're not doing that. I don't know why. That's where you're supposed to do. But I was like, I didn't want him to be alone. They brought him straight from Dover. Dover's where they did all the autopsy. They put him in his dress blues. They got him all dressed, I guess. And they brought him right to the church that we had the funeral for. And it was 2 days early. So all the Air Force guys, including Christopher, spent the night at the church around his body. Like, no one left him. People were with him. Yeah, I just didn't. I mean, I just didn't want him to be alone. It was very weird. So I brought them food. I would bring that food. Like, here you go, thank you, and then I would leave. I wouldn't stay with Dan, but they just slept on the floor. They slept on the chairs of the church, and they just stayed with him until it was time to bury him. Essentially,
yeah.
Weird. And I only wanted black cars. I was like, I'm such a diva, like Mariah Carey. I'm like, black vehicles only. Like, who? I'm so ashamed of some of the things I did. I'm like, why?
Again, I think it was control. Like, I think you feel such a loss of control. Like you said, like part of so much of your life being a military spouse, whether you're fortunate enough for your husband to come home or not, is up to you. Yes, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like you probably could have demanded the word. And that's probably why people were just like, all right, black cars it is.
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like you were like likely, you know more about.
You are spot on. It is a control issue. And I've since struggled with that my entire life since he's passed. Like
Same.
Bulimia after my cancer scare, just to control it. Like, what am I going to control? How much I eat today and what I weigh and what I look like. Like, I just, you control everything you can, And right now at home, I'm like, did that picture frame? Did you move that picture frame? Put it back an inch. Like, I am not so, but thank God people love me. Because,
I struggled with control, and like not control, but always attempting to prep myself for the worst. So like always, and it drove my husband crazy when we like first got together, but just like literally always like, I think I talked about this on one episode. I had like 19 bank accounts, like, and I would like, yeah. And because so I like had to like put myself through college, and like my money was like, it was a weird, like I liked to see all of my like money for different purposes and different accounts. Like we are truly just now coming down off of the so many savings accounts I had.
Okay.
Like,
I see why you
many, because I was just like, well, this one's for like, Ben was like, why can't it all just be in one account?
Yeah.
Well, this one's for my personal property tax. Yeah. And I could make sure that I can pay that every time. This one is for like,
I love that you physically had them separated. Like
I physically had them separated and named.
Oh my God.
I needed to control. I needed to feel like I had control of the situation, and that I could never be
control.
But then like, and I also used to do this thing when Ben and I first started dating and we were getting serious, that I would like, every time I would drive past an apartment place, like an apartment building, I'd always be like, could I live there if we broke up?
Oh, you were planning for the worst.
I was planning for the worst. Yeah, I had to have a sense that I could handle whatever happened to me. And I'm just now coming out of some of that. And my mom has.
Do you have a secret apartment that's just waiting?
I do not. I do not. But like, I am like, my mom's been gone for 18 years. Like, I'm just
in case. I've got that.
Yeah, just in case he wants to like die on me, we're gonna be ready to rock, baby. Like, it is. I just think when you're going through a grief journey, your brain and your body and everything is after that is trying to never feel that way again.
Yeah, protect.
Well, you just like hit the nail. Like that is so spot on. And it's like you want to do everything to protect yourself from going that deep and that dark again.
Yeah.
And I got there again with the second bout of cancer when I thought I was going to die. So I just feel like I've hit that spot a couple different times. For different reasons, and it's the same thing. I'm just like grasping at any type of control that I can have, because I lost him, I lost my hair, I lost my health, I lost my femininity with cancer, I lost the ability to have children for a little bit. Clearly it came back.
Yeah.
You lose so much through grief, and obviously cancer, that it's just like I'll control whatever I can. I'm sure my husband loves that about me. God bless them. Fiance, whatever.
They do. They learn to love. I know he knew what he was getting, right? Like, he was there, so he knew what he was getting. And I like, that's kind of how my husband is too. Like he has learned to love all of the griefy quirks.
Creepy.
Yeah.
All over your guys' Instagram one.
Yeah.
Did you post that? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. That's her. Yeah.
He has learned to love all of my griefy bits, and has learned to like give me the space to have my griefy bits, and like
I will say it's so nice being able to grieve Dan, because Chris grieves him too, which is really nice. And we have a whole shelf of Dan's flags and the letter I got.
That's amazing.
The president, and like pictures of Dan, like just designated. And yeah, it's really, I dated someone in between Dan and Chris, and he was just like really like, can you not mention Dan so much? And I was like, F you, and you're out of here. Like that's not how it works.
Was he in the military as well?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
He was a
I think he was the military bond is a bond too.
Yes,
it
is.
Especially Well, obviously they work together too, so that plays a
right. But even if they hadn't, I think that bond would have still been there. And it just makes the grief process that much easier, because he was physically there. He watched me grieve over my husband. He watched me cry. He watched me, he opened the door so I could go say goodbye to his body. It just, not that anything makes grief easier, but having someone to be like, okay, go. Like, I got the girls. It's your time now. You need to go do you, because I know what you went through sucks. And I'm sure he goes through his own thing sometimes with Dan, but he always just lets me do what I have to do. Yeah. I think it was the Thanksgiving after Dan died. So again, just less than 2 months after Dan died. And we had all the Air Force people over for Thanksgiving dinner. And of course, Chris was the last one to leave. And I had to take all the trash out myself. I was just hell-bent. Like, I'm alone now. I don't have a man in my life. I just had 30 people over, but I'm going to take the trash out. So I'm probably has had a few glasses of wine. And I'm carrying the, like, turkey carcass bag. And I'm like, let me do this. My husband's dead. And turkey grease is, like, dripping down my back. And Chris is just like, okay. Like, oh, want me to get the door? Do you got it? Okay. And he just watched as I just, like, had this moment of, like, walking to the kitchen with this dripping turkey carcass bag, just like letting me be me, knowing in that moment I was feeling the loss and being like, there's not a man to take out the turkey carcass. Like, this should have been someone else. And he just let it happen. Like, okay, well, I'll help you wash up when you get back. And he just let me do my weird griefy thing, which is definitely what that was.
Seriously. Yeah.
So, girl, it's been a journey.
You have truly been through it. And so when I failed to, I failed at the introduction because of why I started following you on the Grieving Mamas Club.
Yeah.
Instagram on our account. And I was just like, so I loved how raw and honest you are in your posts and what you share. And, obviously was, read more like about your stories. And I was like, gosh, she's just been through it, man.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but your name on Instagram is The Resilient Widow. And like, holy shit, you are resilient to a fucking T.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know if you, not that you really want to be, but you are.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you guys know it's grief. People are like, how did you get through, the loss of your mom? And you're like, well, I didn't kill myself, if that's what you mean. Like, I mean, sometimes you just do the bare minimum. Like, I survived. I woke up the next morning, which is sometimes all it is, right? Like,
sometimes that's the win. That is the win. I opened I made the choice to open my eyes.
Yeah.
And there was so many days like that for me, and I'm sure you guys were. And then there's days I thrived, and I was like, I'm going to live for Dan, and I'm going to make him so proud, and my body's overcome cancer, and then it's just this wave of good days, bad days, crappy days, proud days, and it's just now they're just days.
I also feel like sometimes I will have like the dumbest thing will happen. Like, it could be like, I don't know, like a rock comes up and chips my windshield. And tiny in the grand scheme of the things we've gone through. That will be the thing that sets me the fuck off that day. And I will go on this tangent of why does my life have to be so hard?
Yeah. Where's my mom?
I just go my way. All of this,
Oh, I think I've had so many of those days.
Yeah.
So many. I just had the worst sore throat ever. And I'm like, this sore throat. And I'm like, okay, calm down, because I've been through a lot more than a sore throat. Yeah, sore throat just fucking sucked. And I'm like, woe is me. My life.
It's May. It's May. Why do you have a sore throat? Like, what the fuck?
My body gets everything. I'm telling you guys, my body gets all terrible.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I bet. No, it's not.
So that's me in a nice little gift for
and Kristen, thank you so much.
I want you for coming back.
I know.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I know.
We always say this, there's something about grief makes you instant best friends. And so we basically ask you to come on this podcast, and then you bare your soul to us. Kara and I make a couple jokes, and then and then it's you get off the call and you're like, so can I see her again? And we're like, no, let's hang out.
So are we gonna do lunch one time?
I know. I know that it is a funny, yes. Once you come on this podcast, you just you get to be part of Kara and I's lives forever. So
guys, happy to be here. You guys are amazing, and the work you're doing on just making grief normal and just normalizing the process, good, bad, and ugly, is huge. From a therapy standpoint, it's so necessary. Because it's been so taboo, especially I think our parents' generations and older. No one talks about this. No one talks about this.
And they didn't.
So the fact that you guys are just laying it all out there, I am here for it. And I would love to help and be a part of it whenever and however I can.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thanks. So you're making us blush. Yeah.
Oh my, I know. Speechless. But
So good.
Like, keep us posted on the book. We want to help with that in any way we can.
Yes.
Have it
Back
money,
about it.
You can tag me.
But we do have listeners. We do have an audience. So come on back. Yeah.
That's all you need, you guys. That's all I just figure out how to do it. I'm just writing right now. I just sit down and just write.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
We'll see where that gets me, and I will keep you posted for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. And thank you for letting me slide in your DMs. And
of course, anytime.
I just really appreciate it so much. Of course. I appreciate it, Rashida's.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. And let's just I want to keep chatting with you guys and keeping in touch and all that good stuff.
You got it. All right, gals. Thanks so much for listening to the Grieving Mamas Club podcast. When times get tough, just remember, you're a badass bee and you got this, mama.